You. Welcome to the Common Humanity podcast, where we're here to have real human conversations. Today, I am joined by my friend Clay. I met Clay when I worked at the YMCA. He was helping with, I think it was Safe Kids Day. It was some event. Um, I'm pretty sure. And then there was yoga, and then it just all sorts of things. Then we would run into each other on occasion, and it was fantastic. And I remember I used to be a scorekeeper for softball, and I saw him out on the field one day and looked down at the roster, and it had T as his first name, and I was like, Clay does not start with a T. And so I tracked him down after the game, and I was like, what is this? And then I find out that some people know him as Clay and others know him as Taylor, because depending on if you grew up with him or if you knew him in adulthood or whatever. And so I've decided he's a super secret spy. And that's what I've got as your intro. Other than that, Clay, who are you?
Oh, that's a good one, Chandra. uh, yeah, my name's Clay Taylor Brow, and let's see, I reside in outside of Douglas, Wyoming, 13 miles outside of Douglas, Wyoming these days. And when I first met Chandra, I was in Cheyenne, and yeah, kind of a weird deal, just like with the name thing. Uh, I was in treatment there. I was in a abuse treatment. So it was a good transition in my life. So I think that Clay kind of, that was maybe a different alias or something like that, or just a renewal of sorts, maybe.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyway, that's my dad's name. He's Clay. Actually, he's Paul Clay Brow, and I'm Clay Taylor Brow. So it's kind of a funny thing that he and I have, and my grandmother, we go by our middle names, and my aunt as well. Uh, yeah,
That is that is interesting. So you all go by your middle names? That's
no,
fun.
not all, and that's the weird thing. My younger brother and sister, they're called by their first names,
Huh.
so it's
I
weird. And my uncle, yeah,
I find that interesting because, like, I don't know, my oldest son, I had okay, so my ex-husband's nickname growing up was Lou. And so he was like, I want his middle name to be Lou. And I was like, no, Lou is a toilet. His name can be middle name can be Lewis, and you can call him Lou, but I'm like a firm believer that kids should have a name and like a solid name that you can make nicknames out of. That's totally fine, but like a solid name.
Lou's
And
the name.
I no, no.
No,
I'm willing to bet if you took the amount, like, everybody who goes by Lou and ask them if that's their full name or their nickname, I'm willing to bet the majority it's a nickname.
yeah, that's true. I agree.
But I also have a tendency to die on some really awkward hills. So,
Right.
um, so if you don't mind me asking, so you said you were here for substance abuse treatment.
Yeah.
What substances were you, we'll go with, involved in?
Well, mainly alcohol. I've partaken in herb throughout my life too, but I think the main one, my poison was alcohol, and that's the main one that would really get a hold of me. And so anyway, I guess to get straight to the point, it was four driving DUIs, driving under the influence of alcohol within 10 years. So um, and that's a felony in Wyoming. Um, so yeah, it was lucky that I was even able to go to Cheyenne and to get some treatment there. It was a pretty pivotal time in my life, and it was super good just to kind of elaborate more on you and I's relationship. Just like the people at where you work, the YMCA, were super welcoming, and that's where we get to go to get a get a workout in, get out of the center a little bit. So yeah, that was a that was a good time, good real good time. But and after I didn't stay sober for a while. Let's see, I probably stayed sober for 2 years or something like that. But then yeah, I started drinking again and earned myself another DUI, and here yeah, here I am today, and I just like by the grace of I don't, whatever it may be, it's just you got to have a change in you, and you have to. I guess I feel like I'll be going on a whole different subject if I start going in on like
You know what? I have
substance stuff,
ADHD. We
But
can tangent as much as we need to.
right. No, to wrap it up, I guess on the substance thing is that uh, I don't want to consume alcohol again ever in my life, and it's been a thorn in my side for a good bit, and it's just life's a lot brighter without that stuff. So it's a
I
yeah,
agree.
good to be off the sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I do want to commend you. I do think that it is one, it's brave to go through those things. Um, and I feel like it's even braver to talk about it. There are a lot of people who go to treatment and then relapse and they don't come back out of it. Um, that's one of the hard things about
yeah, right.
addiction is that there's there are people who get um I would say they get comfortable and they think like, oh, it's not going to affect me anymore. It's not going to have the hold it had on me at one point in time. I can do it again. And I think most of those people find out that when you're an addict even if you're not using. And
Yeah, addictive behaviors. Yeah, it's just
yeah.
yeah.
Um
I think it's all wired, in your brain.
mhm.
You like you you create those pathways, and then it can manifest in a lot of different ways, huh? You can turn into working out too much, or like
Yep.
eating too much, or whatever, huh?
That's
It's a trip.
exactly what I was about to say. I mean, I I guess I self-identify as an addict. I have a very addictive personality. Um, in my life, I have had an addiction to um, diet pills. I've had eating disorders, which is essentially an addiction to control and controlling what I'm consuming. I've had an addiction to exercise. Um, I've had an addiction to pain. I've had like my life has just been like me rolling from one thing to another until I went through the process of actually healing and like
Mhm.
figuring out why I kept running to something external instead of like, as I like to put it, feeling my shit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
um I know last time you were in town we kind of talked about this, but I had like the summer after or the summer I quit the Y, I started drinking. Like, cause I was never really a big drinker because I come from a long line of alcoholics, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. But then I did, and there was one day where I woke up realizing that I'd almost not woken up, and it was the moment where I was like, I need to change. And that's like I went into therapy 3 days later and talked to my therapist and like did this whole like had this whole like experience of like facing down my demons. And I think that's what really started me on what I refer to as my healing journey. Um, so it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, sounds to me like you went into treatment because the courts said you needed to because of the
Mm,
DUIs and everything. Is that correct?
mm-hmm.
So then
Yes.
I want to know the second time that you, so when you didn't get put into treatment and you decided you don't want alcohol in your body again, what what came to you at that point in time? What was your aha moment of like this needs to stop, and I like whatever it was. What was that for you?
I guess I was just like completely defeated. I just felt, I figured that if I wanted to live a half good existence, that I really needed to make some lifestyle changes, and because yeah, I was just getting to a point where alcohol was, yeah, I could feel it. You can feel it when it's really poisoning.
Yeah.
Well, it is that every time you consume it, it's just it's a depressant. So I guess the aha moment, man, I think that just uh probably later down the road, just with more sobriety, the aha came a little bit, or it keeps it keeps building. I feel a little bit more and more.
Mhm.
I just honestly, I knew that if I kept going, then I'd lucked out that many times, and no one else had gotten hurt, or I wasn't dead. I said I gotta quit pissing life away and get a hold of myself, have some self discipline. So
Yeah,
it
I think that's
it
beautiful.
I don't know, to answer you. It came down the road. Yeah, it's
Not,
just like
not every question has.
you know how life evolves every day.
It does. Okay, so
Yeah,
what is what is something you do for self-discipline?
that's a great question. It's just, and I need to be better about it. But it's like mindfulness, living more kind of um, mindful of my actions, and just like seeing what habits are being created or something, things like that. And if they're good or if they're bad, it's yeah, it's just so easy. It's easy to get caught up in a pattern of things, and that's what I've been focused on mainly, is being real disciplined about how what my behaviors are doing, or what's going on with that. How about you? Is there anything good that to help you keep your balance and stuff, or to
Oh man, mine like I feel like part of it
keep
is the ADHD, but like um I feel like my entire life is self-discipline because if I don't, like if I'm not on my routine, I'm a monster. Like like
right?
today was rough because I worked late like until midnight and 1 the last 2 nights and have not gotten my 8 hours of sleep, and I have not like so my routine is off today. And I think one piece where mindfulness comes in is this more so I usually do what's called fascia blasting on Sunday mornings. It's like a massage tool. It's like scraping and um there's
Your
another term.
muscle?
Yeah, so it's just like it's like a little claws, and you just so it helps release the fascia, which is like the connective tissue in your muscles because
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I've been doing this for years, and Sunday mornings are usually like my recovery mornings, right? So I do like head to toe my whole body, so I'm like nice and relaxed by noon. And I slept in until 9 o'clock, which I haven't done in years. But I was really tired after 2 nights of not enough sleep. And I think where the mindfulness came in for me today was knowing if I don't get like a full body blast done, it's okay. So I focused on, I was like, okay, my hips are tight. I need to work on my hips and my feet because that's where I probably need it the most. And the rest of me was really going to be okay if I can't get to it today. Um, but it was one of those things where, I don't know, even a few months ago, if I was thrown off my schedule of like, this is what I plan on doing, I would get in my head about it and I'd be like, I don't like my whole day is ruined because this one thing that's part of my routine can't get done. So I think that's where mindfulness comes in for me is not so much staying disciplined, but being able to recover quickly when I'm thrown out of my discipline because
Right.
like literally my days are kind of planned down, not to the minute, but like to like 15-minute increments. If I'm not where I like where my brain says I'm supposed to be, I get really anxious. So being able to not fall into anxiety when things aren't
Mm.
going as planned and like sitting back and saying it's okay because I'm also what I refer to as a recovering perfectionist. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. And I think one
That
of the
can
things,
stir you up.
yeah, one of the things that's really helped with that is I have been practicing yoga a lot more. Um, Still not to the point of doing like a daily practice. I every once in a while I get daily practices in and then I miss a couple days. Um, and then like done I haven't done yoga at home in over a week. I've taught
That's
classes,
so
but
ben
um but yeah, I want to talk to you a bit
you're
about
teaching
yoga.
some?
So I'm not officially a yoga teacher, but I
Yeah.
do my classes on Fridays that I teach at Smart Sports are focused on flexibility. So I do a lot of yoga. I mean, it is yoga. I do yoga in just the physical sense, like moving through a flow, holding the positions. Um, but like I'm not certified. I can't go teach at a fancy yoga studio, but I have enough education in the rest of movement and exercise and everything that I feel comfortable teaching that and my clients feel comfortable with me doing it. So we're all good to go.
Cool. Yeah. That's all you need. I haven't been doing any yoga. I've been slack big time. Yeah.
Got to get back to it.
I was telling you that I'm going to a natural building workshop out in California.
Okay, hold on. A natural what workshop?
Dang.
It's
A,
cutting
a,
out. It's
a
like I really
natural
want to know
building
it.
workshop. Did
Natural
that come
building.
through?
Yeah, natural building workshop.
You there?
Yes.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Natural building work.
That's
Yes, yes. We're building
Okay.
building the earthen sauna. Did you hear that? Earthen sauna?
What? Oh, okay. Okay, now my
Uh-oh.
brain's going to explode. You're building an earthen sauna?
Heck yeah.
Okay. Okay, now I need to know more.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just I was looking for that's what I want to do on the property here outside of Douglas is build a like a little cob house out of that's clay, sand, straw, uh adobe kind of mixture, with
Yeah,
some rocks and all that. Anyway, yeah, so I figured I better go learn a thing or two.
that is that is so cool. So I think we talked about this when we had breakfast that one day, but you've done ice baths, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, those things.
Okay, so one of the things that I can't say I'm working on it yet, but something that's on my radar to add to my business once I gotta get things moving is doing hot cold therapy. So doing sauna and ice baths and like actually holding retreats and things like that. Like that's the plan one day when I get all
Yeah.
my poop in the group. And um so that just sounds really cool. Also just
When
building
you
out of earth is a whole nother just like nerdy thing that makes my brain like glow. So okay, so tell me more. Like what are your
well,
plans? Like what are your plans on the ranch?
I just want to build like a cob house and kind of a greenhouse with it, similar to those earthship structures,
Oh yeah.
like using passive solar and kind of dig it into the hillside and maybe either have some sort of a water catchment system. And yeah, yeah, I don't I should have a better idea on how I'm gonna go about making that house, but I'm just hoping that through this workshop I'll have some clarity, and then I kind of have a general idea on where on the property I'll build it, but um, yeah, I
That
just
is
I
okay.
think when I get home, it'll feel a lot better.
Yeah. Okay, so if I'm maybe I'm not understanding this correctly. So you say you want to build a greenhouse, right? That's part of it. And
Yeah. Yep.
so is the structure like the house like are you talking about building a house into like out of all this stuff? Like where you live? Or is it for
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Well, where it's all connected. It's
Yeah.
a closed loop kind of deal where your gray water's recycled and you water your garden with it, and yeah, just kind of a closed
So
loop system.
yeah. Okay, so then is your goal is this just for you personally so like you can live completely off the grid and like not have to go out where there's a bunch of crazy people um and you can just like self-sustain or is this something that you want to like bring more of to the community around you?
I think. Oh, excuse me. Both would be ideal, most certainly. Um, yeah, I think it'd be a lot better thing for all of us to know how to build a little dirt hut for ourselves and live out of that.
I agree. I've always
That
wanted
for
a hobbit
real. We,
house.
yeah, yeah. hobby house and just yeah, just a place you can dwell in, and I think they're just so energy efficient, you know, they make sense from what I've learned about them, and,
Well,
um,
yeah, because I mean, one,
yeah,
Earth is a fabulous
it's worth
insulator.
trying to
No, I don't
fire
know if you
resistant, you know?
knew this about me, but my degrees are in architecture and structural engineering. So like my brain is like cooking right now of
Didn't
like
know.
um, so like this is the stuff
Shoot,
that
I I need to
um
talk to you on how I should build it, huh?
well it's been a hot minute since I have dived into that nerdy part of my brain, but it is definitely something that I would like to know more about and learn about as you're doing it if and whatever you come back with from your retreat would be phenomenal. Um because I always have this dream of like living off the grid. And part of that comes from like quite honestly not trusting the government or anyone around me and all of that. But part of it just comes from like wanting to have a better connection to earth and nature and where we come from because I'm I don't know, firm believer that like everything we need is already here and there's been a lot of technological advancements and things and humans being really cool whatever. Um but like looking at an architectural standpoint, any building you build today lasts 100 years. Like all of the really cheap construction that's going up and they can put it up in a month and it's all sorts of stuff like without maintenance and without replacing things, it is not going to withstand the test of time. However, if you look at cathedrals that were built hundreds of years ago because they were built out of stone and it took them hundreds of years to build them and generations of people to build one structure, but those structures are going to last. They have lasted and they're going to continue to last. Um, I went to Morocco in college to help restore an 800-year-old Igorm, which is a grain storage facility and a what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word, but like where they would go in times of war because like they could all go in there and they'd have food and you can fight and it was really cool. But it was this 800-year-old tower built out of straw and mud, and that's it.
Yeah,
Straw and mud, and it's
it had,
just
like, the thatched roof house or thatched roof, I mean.
no. So that
Did it
was
have
made.
the what kind of roof?
So it's oh now my brain has to think of all these terms. So it's made out of rammed earth, which is essentially they would build giant bricks, but they would build them in place. So each brick is like 3 by 5, like 3 by 3 by 5
Yeah,
feet. And they would
right,
just layer straw and mud and then just like pound it down until they built a brick. And they would do that
right.
again, building the outsides, and then they put what's called martube on the outside, which is essentially like clay. It's it's a clay-like mud. You
Plaster.
mix it with water. It's plaster, but it's plaster. It's not like we do it now, where I mean, whether they get stuff from a quarry or whatever, they literally like dig a hole, mix it with water, and then spread it all over the building, and it seals it. And it's like I don't know. It's just one of those things where I know we've made a lot of technological advancements as human beings, but if we go back to the way that we did things efficiently and sustainably, we don't need a lot of the technology. Like
No.
there's and I know we wouldn't be able to be having this conversation over the internet without that technology, so that's the benefit, but also I don't know, there's just so many cool things that um so like the mound people they were around St. Louis. They were a Native American tribe people who lived down there. Like that's what they built mounds in the ground and they lived in it and they stored their food and they like just the concept of having a root cellar and people could store food and sometimes store food longer than you can in like a modern day refrigerator um
Mhm.
because they knew how to preserve things, and I just feel like that is something that we have lost in general in our
Most def
society.
Yeah, I think it'd be good it's good to live primitively. It definitely puts things in perspective on how good you have it when you do have a toilet to flush and a running water, hot water.
Yeah, I
Uh,
see, and it's one of those things like
yeah, but
I
I
know.
think so you've done some building like that.
Yeah, I have.
That's cool.
um, but and one of those things is like, so when I was in Morocco, I didn't want to come back. And my mom was just like all these people are like, "Oh yeah, everyone's going to miss America. Everyone like nobody wants to willingly live in a third world country." And I was like, yes I do. Please, can I please stay? Like I would like to live in the mountains of Morocco where like they grow their crops and their goats and wash their clothes in the river and
Heck yeah.
go to the river to collect the water that they need, and like it was just probably like the least stressed I've ever been in my life
Right.
when I was just existing.
A
um
lot. That's a good way of living.
yeah, and they like personally I think like a flushing toilet is overrated. um
Yeah.
there you can wash your waste away without it flushing and you can save a lot of water and you can like just
True.
all sorts of things. Like, have you ever heard of a Turkish toilet?
No.
Okay, so in the Middle East, North Africa, things like that, they have what they call Turkish toilets, which the fancy versions are still made of like porcelain, but essentially there's a hole in the ground and there's like a place for your feet on either side of the hole, and you squat down and there's running water that just takes the waste away. And they like it's way more sanitary because you're not like sitting where somebody else's naked butt has sat. Um
Mhm.
and it's like uh, it's how our bodies are actually designed to poop. Have you ever heard of the squatty potty?
Yeah.
Right. So like the squatty potty is essentially like an overpriced step stool that puts your body into a squat position so that you can poop in a squat position because that's how our bodies are designed to discard waste.
Right.
And like Western toilets are not built how our bodies are built, but Turkish toilets are. Um, so it's one of those things where like in the Western world, we like to think that we're more advanced and we're more civilized than other cultures, but their their way of doing things is actually much more efficient. So it's interesting.
I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Um,
See,
but
us
yeah,
Americans don't even know how to crap right.
we
That's
don't.
pretty bad, huh?
And the ones that learn how to do it properly pay like $60 for a bamboo foot so that they can do it but still on their Western toilet. Um,
Right? Need
like
outhouses,
yeah, but I mean
composting
even
critters, huh?
outhouses, if they had something to sit on, would still do the wrong thing. You need a hole in the ground. Hole in the ground. Um,
Right?
okay, this is totally it's not totally random because we were already sort of talking about poop, but we're gonna talk about poop some more because I decided.
Anytime.
So I have a theory. I know that you're an outdoorsy guy. Um, fishing and kayaking and things like that. So I have a theory or maybe a statement that's one of those hills I'll die on because I just decide that it is. Um, so I have a theory that when you go camping, you're not actually camping unless you can poop outside. Um, because there are people who like go glamping, like they have their campers and they have their toilets and they have whatever. So they're basically just living in an apartment that they drove into the woods. Um,
Right.
and then there's people who will sleep in a tent, but like will drive to the nearest gas station or something to go to the bathroom. But so I have a theory that you are not truly camping unless you can poop outside. That's my
Oh,
theory.
that's not even a theory. That's solid facts
Thank, thank
right
you.
there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a friend once, like they had like a ranking of how close to nature you were, and it all had to do with pooping outside. So like the first one, like you're in nature if you're pooping outside. Then closer to nature if you're pooping outside and see a wild animal. Then if you're pooping outside and the wild animal sees you back. And then the ultimate like being part and being one with nature is if you are pooping in nature and a wild animal is pooping in nature and like looking at you where the like is like you guys lock eyes, both defecating somewhere in the woods and then just like move on with your lives.
Just
So that's like
happy to be alive, huh?
yeah. I think this is
You
the
know,
first
it's
time
a
I've
good
talked
day if you can
this
still
much as
pass.
on my podcast. Mind you, in my
Yeah,
personal
you
life.
know you're having a good day if you can still.
Agreed. Um,
Yeah.
so what is let's go into the outdoorsiness. What is your favorite thing to do outside?
Favorite thing to do outside would be, oh man, just living, just breathing fresh air. I just enjoy. I don't know. There's a lot of things. That's a hard one. It's a real hard one. I enjoy just, honestly, I enjoy just listening outside in nature. I'm
I
so
do.
grateful for that sense that we have to hear and to like wait to see is that a lot too. Tremendous, But yeah, the hearing, I think there's uh, a lot being said out there when you're not, you know, a lot of the time we're not even thinking about that, but it's nice to hear. It's just nice to hear nature talking rather than
Yeah,
us damn humans sometimes. Yeah.
agreed. Um, there was I can't remember the name of the movie, but I I watched a movie that was about this kid who was just obsessed with sound. And it was really interesting because and it wasn't all nature sounds. There was a lot of like really random sounds like kids crying and like a can of soda being opened and things like that. But watching that movie really made me appreciate sound more because there were
Mhm.
things where like when you're just moving through life, right? When you're not being mindful of your surroundings, like there's noise happening all the time or there's sounds happening all the time, however you want to put that. But if you sit down and listen to it, there's so much happening all the time and there's sounds that are like really interesting sounds that I feel like we take for granted because they're just there.
Yeah, yeah, I
On
agree,
that
like, bird
note, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, birds chirping in the morning, that's so nice to I'd rather wake up to that as a wake-up alarm any day, you know?
Agreed. Um,
Yeah.
so I want to do a little something. Do you like take a minute, not maybe not a minute, take a moment, listen to like the space around you and what I want to know what you hear right now.
Well, can you hear that at all?
The bird?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's I don't I yeah, there's the bird again. The birds are talking, and, oh, there's a wasp buzzing around, and then it's just got a good feel right now. It's got a real nice kinda gentle breeze out there, you know? You hearing
Yeah.
that kinda going through, it's how about there? What's it doing there?
I also have some very chatty birds outside. Um, and I have my fan going so I can hear that. And then just like every once in a while I can hear like a little gust outside.
Uh-huh.
Just nice. It's like
It is
we need to do
nice.
you know what we just
We're
did?
we're blessed we're blessed to live where we do, huh, Chandra?
We are. I will take a place that is more nature than humans any day.
Yes. Us we're a funny breed.
It's it's true. Um, so I was gonna say, so we just meditated. And I think it's one of those things when, like at the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about mindfulness.
Right.
And I know we've talked about this in the past, but meditation has always been a difficult thing for me because I always had an idea of what meditation was supposed to be. But I've learned that meditation is just like finding those moments and being mindful.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was fun. And like I feel so chill right now.
That was good, and just, like, listening to your or breathing, huh? Taking
Mhm.
some good healthy breaths and getting all the stale air out of us and bringing in some good air. That is meditation, isn't it?
It is. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
cool. Side note, last time we saw each other, you'd asked me if I had gotten into anything like, oh, I can never say this word right. Right. Reiki? No, that's not right.
Oh, yeah, Ayurveda, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
so what I know, like I mean, I know that you've done yoga because like we used to go to the same yoga class, but what other like we'll go with healing practices have you dabbled in?
Wow. Let's see. That's a dang good question. I think there's been all sorts of different um modalities of healing. I guess I think yeah. I just I like reading things on how to treat our bodies better and how to how to live a better life, and that just came up. I had a lady I was seeing for a little bit, and she kind of mentioned it, and I was just doshas. What are doshas? And she's kind of explained a little bit about how within us all there's three doshas, and I think it's like vata, pitta, and kapha or kapha. So, but I don't think I'd do it justice explaining it about you or t- on the about Ayurveda because I don't know much myself, but I believe it's like the life science. It's just you kind of get in tune with your body and what your body you listen to your body more. That's
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think healing practice, I've been trying to listen to my body more and thinking more about if I really need to consume what I need to consume or what that's yeah, that's helped me. I wish I want to talk more about Ayurveda because it's super interesting, but I don't. I really don't. I wish I
You
wish
don't feel
I
like you know
had
enough?
yeah, I don't have the knowledge to really talk on it that much. I just found it super interesting though, and it seemed like it made a lot of sense to what we're drawn towards, like as in foods and what certain spices and how they make us feel. There's always a counter effect to what we do. So it's just knowing what your body wants, I think, or what it's craving at the time, kind of listening in to that more
Yeah,
rather than, oh, I'm just gonna eat this because it's I don't know, it's there or something,
it's just there. Yeah. So co-
Yeah.
two things off of that. One, I'm a like ever since I went through eating disorder recovery, I've become like that was the big thing was learning to listen to my body and like the concept that like if you're hungry, you should eat food because it's your body telling you what you need. Um and I went like in that whole healing process, I went through what they refer to as intuitive eating, which is essentially like you eat what your body's craving. And when you do that, you start to realize that like your body will tell you, like your body's going to tell you if you need protein or if you need carbs or if you need fat. And it's going to it's going to tell you if you eat, I'm not going to say the wrong kind, but like it's going to tell you if you eat a cupcake that that's not exactly what it was looking for. Like, sure, it tasted good, but you don't really feel great afterwards. And it's going to tell you like that biofeedback that you get like every time you interact with your body. So whether it's what you eat or how you slept or how you're moving your body, like all of those things come together and it's it's just like this amazing phenomenal thing because our bodies are very knowledgeable. Like
Very
we like to that we're the ones controlling our body, where like that's just not the case.
no, we have all sorts of parasites controlling us and little bugs, huh? Little microorganisms and everything.
Yeah. But to take that back to the Ayurveda is it's I've always found it very interesting that especially like old Eastern modalities, um, like so literally looked it up and so it says that Ayurveda is considered by many scholars to be the oldest healing science. Um, and is a holistic approach to help people live long, healthy, and balanced lives. So, like, that
Mhm.
sounds great. But that also sounds like where the health industry is, or at least some of the health industry is starting to turn now because, like, Western world is like all about controlling everything. And, like, you want to control your weight, you want to control what you're intaking, you want to control, like, all of the things. Um, and like there are people getting more like getting back to the idea of listening to their body and kind of going with what their body says it needs. And I think it's interesting how knowledge cycles happen. So like 100, 200 years ago, we had like the knowledge of herbs and plants that could help heal certain ailments. And now you see like there's all these supplement companies that are using those same herbs but selling them in capsules to people because they're like, oh, our ancestors actually knew what they were talking about. Maybe we should incorporate that into our world again. But I feel like they're doing it without giving credit to where it came from. But if you look at
Yeah.
like I feel like a lot of the knowledge in the world is mostly separated by I'm gonna use the word dogma because it's so much of it is alike and so similar and like it's so like everything is trying to get to the same end game. Like everyone is trying to live as long as they can, as healthy as they can, as balanced as they can. And there's all of these different ways to get there. And I've seen some practitioners of various things who I think do like a great job of understanding that just because someone doesn't practice what I practice, it doesn't mean that they haven't found like the thing that works for them because it's like each individual is going to click with different things better. But like when you get down to the root of it, Western medicine and Eastern medicine are very similar, but it's how the information gets out to people that is different. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
most
think
certainly. I Ayurveda just seems like a wonderful practice to do, doesn't it? I mean, why not
yeah.
try to eat live foods, living foods, and that's the thing is that would shoot 'em. We just can go to the grocery store. We don't. There's that disconnection between our food and
Mhm.
us, and I think the energy that you put into the food, like growing it, and that takes on energy and
Yeah,
yeah, just fueling your body with good energy, your cells, feeding your cells with good stuff.
I agree. I think and there's so many ways to do that, whether it's gardening or hunting or even sourcing. So like me, I'm not a hunter. I I've just never learned. It's something where like I feel like I'd want to someday just because I am very much a meat eater. um, and would like to be able to relatively source my own meat. But for people who can't do that, don't have the skills, don't have the, like, for whatever, don't have the ability, like, finding a place where, like, you trust how they treat the animals and sourcing your meat that way, um, is, I think, definitely, if you can't put your own energy into it, knowing what kind of energy has been put into that animal before you consume it, I think is something that ideally we should be conscious of. That makes
Yeah.
sense?
Oh yeah. That's a whole crazy cycle in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
How that works from farm to table.
Yeah. And I
It's
think, like, Wyoming, n- not as much with produce, like fruits and vegetables, fruits mostly. Um, there are a lot of things that if you know how to, you can get to grow here. But
yeah,
we're in
just
a,
short growing season,
yeah,
huh?
it is, but there's ways to manipulate that. Like, you can build raised beds, which usually lengthen the season. You can build greenhouses, which will lengthen the season. I think
True. Yep.
I don't think the season or the weather so much is the biggest hardship. I think the elevation is. Um, because it's like you just
That's true.
literally get to a point where things don't grow over a certain elevation, and the higher or the closer you get to that point, the harder it is for them to grow. But again, there's ways to manipulate that to make it more available. But then there's
Right.
also, like, one of the things that I like, I think about my ancestors. I come from Norway, right? Like, I'm Norwegian. They ate fish and potatoes. So, like, that's like
Yeah, those are staple.
that's what they got. um, but it's one of those things where, and like, finding that mix between modern times and modern conveniences, and also tying back to our ancestors and the knowledge that we have from our ancestors. So, like, having the ability to say, I want to be able to eat with the seasons, because there are things that will grow in pretty much every season in Wyoming if you like root vegetables. Or if you're willing to eat, like, if you're willing to eat turnips and potatoes and carrots and radishes, like, if you
Yeah.
throw those in the ground in August and you're going to have a crop, like, in November, December, January, um even it, like, because we don't get too many, like, deep freezes that, like, freeze all the way through the soil, you know? Um but
Right.
it's one of those things where even even if you just rely on a grocery store, noticing what's on sale is usually what's in season. Like, that's what is growing
True.
abundantly somewhere. And so, like, it's the people who are
Right.
like, I want to be able to eat strawberries in December. Like, okay, that's cool, but um strawberries
So,
are, finding a balance between, like, what you can grow at home and what you need to supplement from a grocery store or a farmer's market, um would be, I mean, my ideal life would be like building a commune
yeah.
where, like, we have a community garden and greenhouse, and, like everybody puts in some of the work and uses their skills. Basically, I like want to build a medieval town and live in it.
That'd be awesome.
We'll get on it. You learn how to build.
You're looking for property, aren't you?
See, that's the hardest part, is that we live in a society that to have property you have to have money. To have money you have to have like a standard 9 to 5 job, some way to make enough money to buy the property, to make it so that you don't have to rely on money to live anymore. And it's like you have to be well off before you're allowed to build something sustainably. It's annoying.
Yeah, you do have to have that chunk of change, huh? You do.
Unless I
It
can
is
convince.
gnarly, isn't it?
It is, and it's crap is what it is, because the earth does not belong to anyone financially. Like, I do not care how many taxmen would knock down my door. Land does not belong to them. The earth is like, the earth belongs to all of us. And the fact that anyone is out there saying that it, in order to have a piece of it, you have to go through their fiery hoops, is quite honestly just utter bullshit. So, how I feel about that.
Right. Oh, us humans, we just have all too many agendas, is what it is, you know?
It's true. We do.
We like to control one another and this and that.
I
It's
agree.
weird. Real weird.
I think it's honestly, I think it all stems from fear. Like, people try to
Yeah,
control around them because they're afraid that if they don't control it, that, I don't know.
it's
I
too
don't know if it's,
unfamiliar. And it's, yeah,
yeah,
I know what you're saying. I agree. Well, that's where a lot of our bad thinking comes into play is fear, you know? Fear of all sorts of different things. Fear of being judged, fear of failure, you know, fear of whatever. But yeah, it's it's good to have some. You can't let fear rule your life though, huh? It's, I mean, fear to a certain extent of but yeah,
I,
can't let
I
that
think,
poison your brain.
right. I think the most successful people I know, and success is like just defined here as like the people who have been able to find their spot in life. I think are the kind of people who embrace fear. So they're
Yeah,
like almost like a thrill seeker type. Like, I know that this is scary, but I have to do it anyway.
right.
Um
That's a that's how you have to meet life, kind of, huh? If you're gonna,
yeah.
if you wanna. Well, we all perceive things different, but yeah, I agree with you on that. We need to meet things with uh, with a good attitude and like a healthy mindset, huh?
Yeah.
Well, what else is happening today? What do you?
So we're going to go to our game. So
Oh
we got
yeah,
3 questions. You get to answer first since you're the guest. So first question, what fictional place would you most like to go to?
fictional place to go to.
Yeah.
Oh shit, well, wait a second now. I was gonna say Never Never Land. uh, I don't want to get old. No, I'm just shitting. What about yours?
Um, I would say like my first thought was Hogwarts. Second thought was the Shire. Go live with some hobbits. Um, pretty much anywhere, like any period piece. I don't know that I would like society back in the Middle Ages either, but I'm not a huge fan of modern society. So I would like to go fictional. Mm, yeah, we'll go with the Shire. We'll go to the Shire. That's where we're gonna go.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Why do you think so many marriages end in divorce?
So many marriages end in divorce because um the couples just don't grow together. Yeah. We evolve through like or we're like a river. We're always changing and stuff. So if you don't change together or I that and don't you suppose like jealousy of I think that gets a lot of people too. Ego.
Yeah.
There we go. Ego and yeah, not changing.
I agree. I'm gonna give you a follow-up question before I answer mine. Do you, just as yourself, do you view divorce and or the breakup of a relationship as an inherently bad thing?
No, not at all. Nope.
That makes me happy to hear because I'm not the only one then.
Right. No, we gotta live, you know? It's not a
Yeah,
bad
I
thing.
I think so. I think, like you said, not growing together. So my answer was going to be communication. Like I think the two big things are a lack of communication. And by that I don't just mean like, hey honey, did you take out the trash? But like actually continually getting to know your partner.
Yeah,
And because everybody changes every day
right.
and you have to keep like reintroducing yourself. And it's um like a constant measurement of like, is this the person who I'm choosing again today? And I think that's a big part is like relationships are not love and happily ever after.
No,
Relationships are a lot of work and relationships come with a lot of choice. Because like I feel like there are days that you might not even be attracted to your partner, like whatsoever. Like whether it's like you're just not attracted to human beings that day. Like I know I have that because I don't know. I I find
for
humans
sure.
a lot. Like I think it's really funny. I believe in humanity and its beauty, and I also think that it's like a dumpster fire. So, um, but making that choice, that's an active choice of like, I'm gonna show up today. I think another big reason that so many marriages end in divorce is that a lot of people view marriage as the end game. And so don't like they're more worried about getting married than they are about knowing their partner. So I think I mean, it still comes down to communication, but I think part of it is not knowing who your partner is before you make that commitment, but also not knowing who you are before you make that commitment.
Mm,
Um, because like if you don't know who you are and you get into a marriage, and I'm gonna say this from my own personal experience, you will become whatever like that person wants you to be for the sake of the relationship. Um,
Yeah.
I will say for myself, like I did not know who I was until after my divorce. Like well after. It took me a few years and I pretty solidly know who I am now, but when I was married, I was just I did not have my own identity. I was a wife, I was a mom, I was a worker, and that was like it. And now I have a voice that I share openly with anyone who will listen. So,
Heck yeah, girl.
okay,
Yeah,
last
as it
question.
should be.
So this one could be kind of rough. What is something nobody knows about you?
Something nobody knows about me. Um, let's see here. Something nobody knows. Uh, let's see. There's got to be some skeletons in the closet, huh?
Right?
I have to be digging. Damn, that's a rough one, Chandra. I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
I didn't write it. I just
I think. Well, I don't know. Who knows what others perceive or something. But I think I maybe just like my well, I think it's kind of become quite apparent these days. Just like my I have a hard time of with attachment, I think.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Like you get too
I
attached or
no, I when I start to feel it, it's like I skedaddle.
oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think
Been
that's
there, done
a
that.
right. Well, when like at the end of relationships or something, I don't know if what I've just been doing some thinking lately, about with having a mate or not, and I've enjoyed not having one, and I think that I've never told my mates in the past that I have a commitment deal or like I can't fully invest, and I think that's deeper rooted. So
Yeah.
that I think that's something that no one knows about me. I think.
Um I I will go with I empathize with that. Um my boyfriend probably does not appreciate me saying this or thinking this, but there's a part of me, and I don't think it's not the whole part of me, obviously, because I'm choosing to be in a relationship. But I've I've been single and independent so much of my life. I feel like there is a part of me that is always going to be perpetually single, even if the majority of me chooses a relationship. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Because or you can blame it on me being an Aquarius too. I really like my individualism. I really like my me time, but that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I don't also like time with a partner. And one of my struggles has been trying to find a balance between that and also not running away. Like not not just like leaving a relationship because I have the urge to be alone, because the urge to be alone doesn't last forever, for me at least.
Right.
So instead, being able to have that conversation with my partner and saying, like, hey, I love you, but I don't actually want you around right now.
Right. Being straight
So
up, huh?
it's interesting. Um, so let's see. Something nobody knows about me. I won't say nobody, but we'll go with very few people. I feel, um, but I'm gonna say very few people know that I am like essentially like the softest, squishiest, most like adorable little creature. um, I have a very like to the outward world. I I present a lot of strength and like strength, confidence, just like knowing what I want and what I'm doing. And even when I present vulnerability to the world, I usually present it through the eye of strength. Um, because I feel like vulnerability is one of the strongest things that you can do. um, but there's not very many people in my life who have seen like what I consider my actual soft side. Like I've told people it exists. A lot of them don't believe me.
Mm,
um but there's I think I can count on like less than a hand how many people have actually met that side of me.
mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we put barriers up and don't even realize it sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Um but it's one of those things like those barriers are there for a reason.
Yeah,
And I don't think everyone is supposed to have access to every part of you. So,
I agree. I
all
agree.
right. So before we wrap this up, is there, if there was one thing that you think the world needs to know or to hear, what is it?
One thing the world needs to know or to hear. Um, that we should take good care of our water. And that
Huh?
we should uh, interact out of love, you know? I think I think that may be some good things and yep, I suppose that's the only wisdom I have for the day.
It's not the only wisdom, it's just the last bite of wisdom. Well, Clay,
Yeah,
thank you very
there we
much
go.
for joining me on the Common Humanity podcast and for having a real human conversation with me.